Hi everybody, good afternoon. This is Jean here, Jean Truelove from Truelove Quilts for You. I am coming to you from my sewing room today. I am going to be doing a bit of sewing, but right now I just want to explain the little following video that's to come. I have an Ask Me Anything segment for any of you out there who want to ask me anything about quilting, about our family, about whatever you want to ask me. I will attempt to answer it. Now I have to admit that I made a video about a month, maybe 5 weeks ago or so, on this question. I actually forget the question. All I do remember is I made the video, I edited it, and it was scheduled to come. I had been putting that video off. It's just about how to sandwich a quilt together and how I do it on my smaller table or a larger table with my clamps. And I did it with a scrap pieces of quilt sandwich. The reason I'm sort of re-editing that footage of a while ago with this introduction is I'm actually working on a quilt that I did not do a tutorial, and you may have seen it hanging up. It was called a one block wonder, and it had a lovely sort of a shepherd dog in the center with all like a kaleidoscope of colors and hexagons around it. I took some still pictures of me actually pin basting this quilt on my kitchen table. As I said, I did do a tutorial. I do have a tutorial on how I did a small one block wonder quilt about 2 years ago of my Ukrainian ladies that you can look up on my playlist. And that was step by step how to do this extremely complicated looking quilt. Perhaps not for beginners, but it wasn't that hard when I figured it out. I made this larger quilt with the dog. It's, as I said, an explosion of colors because of the way you cut the fabric. It's not an inexpensive quilt to make because you actually need 7 repeats. I had purchased 7 panels to cut them to make the actual 6-sided hexagon. I've pin basted that, and I'm going to be quilting that. I don't know quite how I'm going to quilt that, but I will be filming it and just chatting to you on my Jazz 2 sewing machine. I've seen how others have done like maybe an all over pattern. I'm not quite sure if I want that because you'd see the quilting stitches. It's a busy quilt to begin with, so I might just use some straight stitches. I will come to that and I will explain that. I'm trying to get rid of some of these quilt tops that I have, unfinished quilt tops projects. I don't like having them hang around. Oh, I just wanted to tell you that last week Jen had come, and that was just a lovely visit. If you haven't seen that video, I'm going to be going over to her house and trying to, when she figures out her sewing space, I'm going to try to video that where her sewing space is. We were talking about that. So that's one of my last videos. And again, this video, little piece to follow, I did quite a while ago, and I actually had done an introduction to it. I'll just fast forward that to get to what I'm actually doing. Everybody sandwiches a quilt differently. Some of you pin based, some of you sew based, some of you spray based. I actually use pins. My pins, when I was doing this, I wasn't filming it. I was thinking, oh, they're getting a little bit dull. I do 2-inch safety pins. I must get a few new ones because some of them are a little bit dull going through the 3 layers of quilt sandwich. I think that's it for now. I'm going to re-edit this part of my film, but I just wanted to thank you guys again for the ones who followed me and who watched me, who subscribed to my friend Tara's channel over on YouTube. Very clever. My friend Tara and her daughters Rebecca and VJ. She had put up just a 1-minute clip of an intro, and she's actually done her introduction to who she is and what she does and her daughters. So if you want to check out Tara's Crafting Corner, you'll be thrilled. She's a real sweetheart, and they have real personalities. Good friend Tara. So again, I don't say it to me, but subscribe to her and like that and everything. I'm sure Tara would appreciate it. I do appreciate all my friends here who make this possible. I enjoy doing what I'm doing. Actually, I'm going to be hitting, is it 55? I think it's, what is it? Is it 55? Let me just go here. Where is it? Do I have 55,000? I think I have 55,000 followers. That's the wrong thing. What am I looking at? I don't know what I'm looking at. Anyway, so my last introduction to who I was and what I do and is at 48,000 subscribers. I now have almost 55,000. So I'm going to be working on that, doing for you, those of you who are new here, my faithful subscribers know who I am, know what we do. Know the mayhem that follows us around and our family. Anyway, folks, I do hope you enjoy this video to come. Thank you so very much. And as always, love from the Trueloves, everybody. Bye-bye. Today, the question comes from Lynn. I have trouble putting the front on the batting and the batting on the back. I feel overwhelmed with doing that. Thank you, dear Jean, for being open to questions. Lynn. Now, when I read this question, Lynn, I didn't quite understand just what you were asking. I came to the conclusion that perhaps you're talking about preparing your quilt for basting, then getting ready to take it to your machine to quilt. Now, you have to understand, if you lined up 100 quilters, you're going to get different answers to every question. This is just how I would do this, or how I do something. On a very small scale. Obviously, when you have made your own quilt, you have made either a baby quilt, even up to a twin size, a large quilt, you have your quilt top. For argument's sake, I'm going to be showing you my quilt top piece ready to be quilted. And as you know, you have a backing piece of fabric. Here is my backing. Again, I've just pulled this from my stash. Here's my backing. And again, as you know, you always make your backing bigger, not much larger, but several inches bigger on each side of the quilt top. You could use a folding table, but I like to do it on a table. And if you can imagine, I've done king size quilts, which obviously are going to hang off the ends of the table, okay? But say this is my table, my quilt is hanging off a little bit on this end, okay? My backing, I should say. But what I'm doing is I'm going to take my batting, I'm going to unroll my batting, I'm going to place my batting down, which again, my batting is not quite as large as my backing, but it is larger than my quilt top. Okay? So here is my backing, my batting, and my quilt top. I've made this little sandwich. Okay, so I have my large quilt. Now, even say if it's hanging over, if you know, you've centered it on your table, okay, and even if the backing is hanging over, the first thing I do though is I'm working with one end of my table, okay, which is over here. Now, what I'm doing is I want to start pin basting. Perhaps you want to pin baste, perhaps you want to spray baste, perhaps whatever method of basting, okay? Here's my quilt top, my batting. What I'm going to do is at the top of my table here, I'm going to open up my clamps, and I'm going to clamp my backing, my batting, and my quilt top, okay, on the top. Now, say this is my, let me just come over here. So here is my quilt. I might need to secure my quilt top, backing, and batting all along my table, all right? All along that table. If you can see right now, my quilt sandwich is not going anywhere. These clamps are holding my 3 layers here. Now, by all means, if you want to come along and, well, this lip isn't big enough, but if you have a table that has a lip big enough, that's just holding the backing, okay? You do it down the side, okay? Now, what I'm going to do next here is I'm going to make sure that my backing is nice and square on my top here. And what I'm going to do is then I'm going to start, I pin baste, okay? I can say I have rarely, when I use this method of clamping my sandwich down, I have rarely gotten any folds, tucks, or creases in the back of my quilt sandwich. I have rarely, okay? Let me just take this one off. It's being secured here. I've pin basted, and as you can see, my backing, and even if, you know, if it's the size of a twin size quilt or a baby quilt, whatever size it is, this up here is being held. If you're going to come all the way along there, that is not going anywhere, and you can smooth out your backing. You can smooth out your quilt top. You can go along, and if it was a large quilt, I would start pin basting from the center of my quilt and pushing out the whole while, pushing out, pushing out, pushing out, all the while smoothing the backing. And then you have your lovely quilt sandwich. When it's all pin basted, what I do, and I pin baste approximately about every 5 inches or so. I would pin baste in the middle here. As you can see right there, when it's not clamped, do you see how it rucks up? You see that? You see that? I might get a little tuck in the back here. But when it's all secured down and you're smoothing, 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 you would rarely get any tucks on the back of your quilt sandwich there. There's our backing when you're sewing it. Now, the next step I would do is after I quilt this, after I quilt it, and a lot of people use a walking foot, and I'm going to address that in another video, I will go over and I will, after it's quilted, I will go over and I will stitch all the way around my quilt here, and then before I attach my binding, I would cut that off and then attach my binding, but that's for another video. Only $1 or so, something like that, at the local store. You might even need your a strong person to open them up for you on whatever table you have. And yeah, I hope that helps. Smoothing the backing, the batting, and your quilt top. All right, Lynn, hopefully that helps. All right, bye.